Hollywood actress Bethany Joy Lenz has some shocking stories to tell when it comes to being in a cult in Hollywood and why she eventually left it altogether. This is all coming out in this crazy interview and eventually in this book that she's releasing as well, where she details all of the craziness of what she went through being in that cult in Hollywood. So let's get into this whole crazy story here, because this summarizes very perfectly a lot of the craziness that is happening in Hollywood. We know that there are plenty of cults in Hollywood. Hollywood in itself is a cult, okay? But we're gonna get into this whole crazy story and see what they have to say here about this whole thing. One Tree Hill actress says her co-stars tried to rescue her from the cult. One Tree Hill actress Bethany Joy Lenz says her co-stars on the popular show tried to rescue her from the cult she was a part of for a decade, but she was very stubborn. The 42-year-old star told Variety magazine that several of her well-known friends from the show noticed she was in trouble and tried to save her, but she was very committed to what she believed was best. And by the way, guys, I don't know if I'll really get into it too much in this video here. Maybe a little bit later on, we'll kind of talk about this briefly. But we even had some crazy stories coming out recently about even Angelina Jolie and her talking about some of the crazy cult-like experiences that she has had, where she literally was involved in things like, apparently, like even like the Illuminati type of stuff. It's absolutely insane. But it was a whisper from behind the scenes, like, you know, she's in a cult, Len said. For a while, they were all trying to save me and rescue me, which is lovely and so amazing to be cared about in that way. But I was very stubborn, she added. I was really committed to what I believed was the best choices I could make. And of course, that is kind of how a lot of people view themselves when they're in these types of cults. Bethany Joy Lenz details 10 years in a cult. One Tree Hill star compares sociopathic leader Keith Rainier. So the actress then talked about how the nature of a group like that is isolation. It built a deep wedge of distrust between me and my cast and crew. They have to make you distrust everyone around you so that the only people you trust are, first and foremost, the leadership, and then people within the group if the leadership approves of them and isn't in the middle of pitting you against each other, which happens all the time. Huh. Funny. That also sounds a lot like Hollywood. Interesting. So in the end, Len says that she believes that in a lot of ways being on the show and the demands of the series saved her life. I had a lot of flying back and forth, a lot of people visiting and things like that, but my life was really built in North Carolina, and I think that spatial separation made a big difference when it was time for me to wake up. So the Royal Matchmaker star recently talked about how she's writing a book about being in the cult, something she told the outlet she started during the pandemic. Why I wanted to talk about this is because I think it can be really healing for a lot of other people. I know I'm not the only one. What good are our painful experiences if we just lock them away and pretend like everything's perfect? That's not doing anybody any good. She admitted that the reason it took so long to open up about it was because she had to first overcome shame, and secondly because I don't like to identify as a victim. And let me just say this, good for her for leaving. Unfortunately, she's still part of another cult in Hollywood where you have to basically ascribe yourself to their ideology, to their way of thinking, to their worldviews, and if you don't, then you run the risk of being blacklisted or eventually shut out, which is something that we continue to see happening with certain individuals in Hollywood, people like Chris Pratt. And so it's going to be interesting to see if she eventually wakes up from the ultimate cult or not. It's going to be interesting to see where all this continues to go, but at least she got out of one cult, even if she kind of went from the frying pan and into the fire, unfortunately. But let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. What do you think about this crazy story here coming from Bethany Joy Lenz, and what do you think about her experiences that she briefly shares here? Let me know what you think. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all in another video very soon.